Oh, Heavenly Father, I come at this hour just thanking you for all your blessings you have bestowed upon each and every one of us on the sound of my voice. You've been good to all of us, Father. You have brought us through some bad times in life. And now, Father, we're going through something right here, the city of Bastrop. I ask you to strengthen us to be able to endure whatever we have to do. Bless every elected official, every department head, to do what's best for the city of Bastrop, that can keep us the city of spirit, pride, and progress. These are all blessings. We thank you in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, and I wish to welcome you to this meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Ms. Goldman. Roll call to determine a quorum.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Nason.
Here.
Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mr. Locke.
Here.
Mayor, all present except Mr. Moore.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. May the record reflect that. Let us just bow our heads where we are now with a moment of silence for the clerk's son in Collingston, Louisiana, Miss Julie. How do you pronounce that last name, Ms. Goldman? Slagle. She lost her son. Let us bow our head for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have a few announcements, but I'm going to also let the department heads do some updates, and I like to periodically do that because I know that you appreciate hearing directly from them. I feel good about this month. We've had a good month. We've done some good public relations, connecting with the school system, and as we promised, we would serve as a support to our local educational institutions. We know that economic development is directly tied to education, and wherever possible, we try to support the endeavors of our system. I want to credit both chiefs with making tips that we have sent out to the schools. In fact, we partnered with Morehouse Parish School System, and they provided the printer and we provided the paper. It was a good trade-off, and we dispersed tips to around 3,000 children, and we feel good about being able to do that for Halloween, and safety tips from the police department and fire department, fire prevention, two departments that we know are absolutely necessary and we hope we never have to use. Wouldn't you say that summarizes it pretty good? But anyway, we also visited Prairie View Academy and had an opportunity to talk directly to the children. It was by way of invitation when we told them that we had tips that we would like to pass out, and they said, you're certainly welcome to come out and personally talk to the children, and we did so. I want to thank St. Joseph Church for the 9th annual Blue Mass. That's an event that I certainly appreciate. It helps you to reconnect with your purpose for public safety, and also bearing in mind the risk that is associated with holding those jobs. We have Which Way is Main Street on the 31st of October on the square from 4 to 6. Safe way for your children to enjoy Halloween. So we encourage the public to come out. Also, the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast of Unity and Thanksgiving is October 30th, 6:30 at the Bastrop Municipal Center. You may purchase tickets either at the Mayor's office or the Visitor Center. We have limited space, so we would appreciate hearing from you. We're planning to have a real good time that particular day. I promised the Keep Morehouse Beautiful group that I would make an announcement in reference to putting advertisement on utility poles. That is against the law. So if you're in the listening audience and you know of someone who has been posting such literature on the polls, please be reminded that it is illegal to do so. Issued some proclamations this month. We did one with anti-bullying on October 1st. We had school system staff present along with both chiefs, and we want to support the educational system with the anti-bullying, and we're doing so. In fact, I passed on to the school system a notice from the Department of Justice, and they are making a video to enter into some competition. Also, proclamation for the Head Start program and celebrating their years of service. It was established in May 8, 1965, so I shared that day with them of their celebration and want to express appreciation for the Head Start staff and all that they do for the preschoolers in our community. I have also received some information from Washington, D.C. We should be hearing from some of the grants that we submitted pretty soon. We have some outstanding grants pending from the fire department, police department, and we are about to submit another application to FEMA for the police department. I'm going to ask that the department heads, and I don't want you to fight over who wants to be first to come and give an update. We're going to hear from Chief Montgomery with the fire department.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This week we're observing National Fire Prevention Week. And so in keeping with that, we have honored it by, we put literature in the newspaper, not literature, but tips in the newspaper. We also been visiting schools. We've, along with the mayor, we went to several places, and we've been making sure we get in contact with all the kids and inform them on how to be safe. And we've used that as a bridge over into the holidays. Halloween is coming, Thanksgiving is coming, and Christmas is coming. So while we was talking about fire prevention during this week, we also took advantage of that opportunity to give out some Halloween safety tips, and we'll use that to go on into the rest of the year. So it's been a pretty busy month, but it's been a productive month. And y'all have any questions? Okay.
Have any questions for?
No.
That's it. Thank you, Chief Montgomery. Thank you for the job that you do for the city of Bastrop.
Okay.
Now we'll hear from Chief Black.
Hi. Updates, we have our data system for our units is up and running. It's state of the art. We had that completed. We went to Prairie View yesterday and met with the young children, pre-K through second grade is who we were able to talk to. We distributed literature to the teachers to give out to the parents of pre-K all the way through sixth grade, and there were some good helpful tips in there. We have hazmat training going on right now with some officers on one of the grants that we have, some training that's required. They'll undergo one session this week. They're about to wrap it up, and then next week they'll go to another. Halloween will be observed October 31st, 6 to 9 p.m. here in the city. And as far as an outstanding grant, we do have an outstanding grant we haven't heard from yet, and we're hoping to hear something positive here pretty soon on the cops hiring grant. That would maybe add another person to our department. And I think that's about it. All I can think of right now.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Black. Mr. McKee, I know that you've probably read the paper, and there has been a reported case of West Nile but we are on top of things in terms of doing what we're supposed to do. But we do ask our citizens to be mindful of making sure you don't have stagnant water in your yards and old tires and that kind of thing. Mr. McKee?
Okay, and on that note, Mayor, I guess the first thing I'll mention that we are continuing to spray 5 days a week, all the streets in Bastrop. Our football program, our youth football program is underway. As a matter of fact, they should be playing as we speak. The school has graciously allowed us to use the stadium at football field at Bastrop High on the 17th of November, so we will be playing our last football game there. We'll also do like we did last year, since we had such a good turnout. Anybody that wants to sponsor someone or be sponsored, you can pay $10 to play in a flag football game. We have tickets available. If the council members, I figured y'all probably wanted 5 apiece. They're only $10 each. And we're just going to have a fun day at the school. It gives the kids a chance to play at Bastrop High Stadium. We're also getting ready for youth basketball, and we're looking forward to the sign-ups this spring for baseball, because we transition from one athletic activity to another. We're on the 20th of October, and I hope I got that date right. That's going to be our annual fall cleanup. So we will have dumpsters placed at the old Ditto parking lot, and any trash, bushes, that furniture that you need to get rid of, you can put in the dumpster. And speaking of that, storm limbs, we're in the process of picking them up now. We will be picking them up for at least the rest of this month and into the month of November. So if you have any storm limbs that blew down, if you can get them to the right-of-way, to the front of your house in the ditch, we'll try to get them picked up. Any questions?
Mr. McKee,
Yes, sir.
what all will you be picking up on that particular date?
On the 20th?
Yes.
Well, actually, we won't pick up anything. What we'll do is we'll have dumpsters placed at
Ditto.
Ditto.
Let me rephrase my question. What can you put in that dumpster?
Anything but tires. We will have also a site for you to bring old tires to, which will be in very close proximity to where the dumpsters are.
Anything?
That's kind of a broad statement for me to answer, but I will tell you what I've seen in them, and they've accepted them. Anything from white goods, refrigerators, freezers, to lumber, trees, glasses, dishware. No tires.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Ms. Goldman, any update? Business as usual in the clerk's office.
Yes, ma'am.
We're getting ready to enter into a busy season again.
Right. Property tax will go out in November.
Also, we are one step closer to renovations inside this courtroom. I think you will be pleasantly surprised at what we have planned. The judge and I have communicated on our ideas, and we're sharing into the expense. I'm using one-time grant money that we cannot use for salary, and we are one step closer. We've submitted all the paperwork, haven't we, Ms. Goldman? So I think the public will appreciate the new seating and the new carpet and the new chairs and everything else that goes along with it. Another way that we express to you and compliment you on our appreciation for serving the public. Are there any other announcements, council members, you wish to share? And again,
No.
look forward to seeing you at the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast of Unity and Thanksgiving on October 30th. Item number 4, public comments as they relate to items on the agenda. Item number 5. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from regular council meeting September 13, 2012.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Properly moved by Mr. Armstrong
Second.
and second by Mr. Locke. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, Finance Committee Report Resolution 12-1465, Bills and Claims for the month of September 2012. Mr. Locke.
I move for the acceptance of Resolution 12-1465, bills and claims for the month of September 2012.
Properly moved by Mr. Locke,
Second.
second by Mr. Nason. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, Ordinance 12-4216, an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $4,600,000 sewer revenue bonds, Series 2012, the bonds of the City of Bastrop, Louisiana, prescribing the form, terms, and conditions of said bonds, designating the date, denomination, and place of payment of said bonds, providing for the payment thereof in principal and interest, entering into certain other covenants and agreements in connection with the security and payment of said bonds, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Bill Bowles, how you doing?
Good, Mayor. Good evening.
Great seeing you, Mr.
Council.
Thompson.
Good to be here in Bastrop, Madam Clerk, Council.
Thank
It's always a pleasure to be in Bastrop. Tonight, we have before you the introduction of the bond ordinance for the refunding or refinancing, if you will, of all your outstanding sewer bonds. This is going to let Mr. Thompson, a governmental consultant, talk about the savings, but the process is we've been to the bond commission, they've approved moving forward with this. Now we have to introduce and then at your next council session, hopefully approve the bond ordinance. These, and we still have some of the terms and conditions to be worked out, so we don't know exactly what the numbers, the savings numbers, because until we go to market. So that's why you see some blanks in here and things that it's customary. When we come in and we have the bonds sold and we know what it is, we'll come back, all those will be filled in, and we can give you the exact savings, but we have a very good idea what that will be, and I'll let Mr. Thompson address that.
Okay. Thank you.
As Mr. Bowles said, right now we're projecting, because we're not able to lock in the rates right now, but we're projecting over $300,000 total savings over the life of the bond issue. As Mr. Bowles said as well, we're refinancing all your existing sewer debt that was done in 1994, 2002, and 2003. So with this, you'll just have one outstanding bond issue, one payment secured by the revenues of the sewer system.
And we don't extend the term, it's just pure, it'll be pure savings. The term won't extend past when it was before.
2028.
So that's, we expect a good deal for the city of Bastrop.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing this opportunity before us, and we issued a press release in reference to all the work that you have done to help us with this savings. It's another effort to show the citizens of Bastrop that we're doing our very best to stay afloat, and this is certainly good news, Mr. Bowles.
Yes, ma'am.
And you
Glad to
can
be of service to the city.
thank you. You've been with us about 16 years now.
Long time.
Okay. And your tickets are at the office for the prayer breakfast.
You have my check in the mail now. We're buying a table, we're sure, probably too. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I will this is for introduction only, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We get to see you again next month then.
Yes, the 30th.
Okay.
No, you mean for the second reading? Yes,
Right.
that is our timetable right now that we're planning to be back for the next meeting.
Second week in November.
I think that's
November.
correct. Yes.
Right.
We'll be back then.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your
Thank you.
service to the city. Item number 8, reappoint Mr. William C. Miller as member of the Bastrop Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board. Is Mr. Miller here? He is not here. Mr. Miller has expressed that he is interested in continuing his service. He has been with us how long, Ms. Goldman?
Several years,
Several.
at least 4, maybe 8 years.
And I am always complimentary of our citizens who serve in these capacities at the benevolence of their heart. They are not paid for it. So it is my pleasure to recommend reappointing Mr. William C. Miller back to the Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
May I move?
Properly moved by Mr. Locke
Second.
and second by Mr. Johnson. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, Resolution 12-1467, a resolution commending Captain Heath Epinette upon retirement from the Bastrop Fire Department.
Mayor, Captain Epinette I wasn't able to get in touch with him.
Okay. Okay. We'll save that for, do you want to make some expressions about the years of service?
Good evening again. Captain Epinette was a fantastic employee. He worked for over 25 years of dedicated service. As a matter of fact, Mayor, I tried to talk him out of retiring, but he wouldn't have no part of it. But he did a fantastic job. He's one of the best men that we've had since I've been there, and I've been chief since '04. And so hate to lose him, but I wished him well in his next endeavors.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Montgomery. Ms. Goldman, you'll make sure we get to Mr. Epinette everything that we would normally do for any retiring
Yes, ma'am.
employee. Item number 10, Resolution 12-1468, a resolution, did I? Oh, Mr.
Mayor, we didn't do the one for Captain Epinette.
Okay. And I'm looking at the same thing, different number.
Right.
My bifocals. Okay, that's item, we had one from Public Works. And I'm looking at him. Resolution 12-1468, resolution commending Jerry Johnson upon retirement from the Bastrop Public Works Department. Mr. Willie McKee.
Ma'am, there's a lot I can say about Mr. Johnson. And there's a lot I can say about him that I can't say about very many people. So I'm going to pick that part. Mr. Johnson and I go back further than Public Works. Oh, I've been told that you're not quite on the camera. He goes back to my days in the fire department. Mr. Johnson is one of the very few people that I've ever met in my whole entire life that's the same every day. I can honestly say I've never heard him give a crossword or act like he was mad, and Lord knows I tried to make him mad, didn't you? Yeah. But he's the same every day, and when he comes to work to work. And Jerry has given us many years of very dedicated service. I really hate to see him go, but he's probably better off without us. Jerry, want to say something?
You're on camera, Mr. Johnson. Did you want to talk?
No, ma'am. I thank the city for a whole lot of years.
If you'll stay there for a minute.
Appreciate it.
Stay right there, Jerry. Come on up a little bit.
No, I just want to thank the city of Bastrop for a whole lot of, years, and those years kept me out of trouble and kept me going, kept me working, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I would like to present you with this resolution, your copy to keep. It's originally signed by the mayor and the Board of Aldermen. And your years of service also kept the city out of trouble. It's a two-way street. May God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
There's something about working for the city. Once you've worked for the city, you're always part of the family. So we expect to see you and sharing activities in the future.
Mayor, we need a action on both of those. We need
Okay.
a vote.
At this time, thank you, Ms. Goldman. I will entertain a motion on Resolution 12-1468. 1467. Thank you.
So moved.
Properly moved by Mr. Nason
Second.
and second by Mr. Locke. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, Resolution 12-1466, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement and any amendments thereto with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for the taxiway lighting Phase 2 rehabilitation AIP project number 3-22-00004-2012, state project number H010164 for the Morehouse Memorial Airport. Ms. Goldman and Mr. Brent.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is a project that we've had in the works for quite a while now that I guess is finally coming to fruition. We've already put out for bid on that and received the bids and selected a contractor. So I guess now we're at the point where we just need to go ahead and go forward with it. And this is going to be to basically put out brand new lighting on our taxiway, and it's going to update it and bring it up to the state standard for airfield lighting.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Goldman. Anything you need to add to that?
No, ma'am, other than this is a split agreement where I think it's 90% FAA and 10% state. So we'll be fully funded.
Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion on Resolution 12-1466.
Mayor, I make that motion.
Properly moved by Mr. Johnson,
Second.
second by Mr. Locke. Any question, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Brent. Okay, item number 12, ordinance 12-4212, an ordinance adopting a plan for reapportionment for the Board of Aldermen of the City of Bastrop, Louisiana, based on the 2010 decennial census count. Mr. David Creed, any?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the aldermen.
Yes, sir.
We, as you know, introduced it at the last meeting. We had the public hearing at the last meeting. Bottom line is it's good to go. I think all the aldermen are satisfied with it, and we, in the course of having it posted out here, thanks to Ms. Goldman, we found a little hitch in our map, which did not set it back, but we had to, our maps are provided to us by the Census Bureau, and the Census Bureau actually had an error in the map, and it did not involve any voters, and it did not involve the city limits, actually, but the map showed the city limit lines wrong, where the annexation of the Walmart area was on. They had it placed too far east, out on Highway 2. They had it on the map. It was actually too far east geographically on the map. It did not change the plan any, and actually, when we do the legal descriptions of the districts, the district may say beginning at the corner of Smith and Jones Street, but when it reaches the city limit, whatever it is, it might say, then following Jones Street to the corporate limits of Bastrop, then along the corporate limits of Bastrop to Johnson Street or whatever. So that still says that, because the city, it just said it followed the city limit line. It was not wrong in the legal description. It was wrong on the map. And when we first got a television when I was young, sometimes KNOE would have problems, and they'd throw this thing on the screen, and I never will forget. It said, "It's not you, it's not us, it must be them." And so I feel like I'm in that position now. It's not you, it's not us. It was the Census Bureau that got that line wrong on the map. How we are sure that we're good to go, though, is because thanks to Ms. Goldman and thanks to Mr. Lawrence, they have provided copies of the ordinance where the annexation was listed, the legal description of the annexation, and here's the goodie, that annexation was pre-cleared by the Justice Department. So that means once that annexation was pre-cleared by the Justice Department, that is the city limit line. Officially, it was anyway, but the reason I'm emphasizing that is because the folks at DRJ are the ones who are going to be telling us whether the plan is acceptable or not, and it will be. But since they're the ones that pre-cleared that line, then I believe they'll stand behind their line. I don't anticipate any problems with that. It has occasionally happened before, but I felt like you needed to know about it, that was a little hitch, and Ms. Goldman got a hold of me just real quick like. And no, we did not want folks at Walmart looking at a map that didn't put them where they're supposed to be. And so anyway, it's good to go, in my opinion. So I honestly predict that it'll be pre-cleared by the Justice Department in the minimum amount of time. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Creed? Well, we appreciate your service, Mr.
Thank you,
Creed.
ma'am. I'd like to say one other thing, too.
Yes, sir.
In my job, I go into a lot of city council chambers, and I shouldn't say this, but this is just about the best one I go into already.
We don't.
You're going to make it better. You should see some of the ones that I go to. Anyway, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creed. We have performed our due diligence in terms of preparation, and thanks to Mr. Creed, and appreciate, I believe Willie was the one that caught that error in the map, and of course we were able to blame it on somebody else, and it's not our fault, none of our fault. But at this time, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, properly moved by Mr. Nason and Mr. Johnson.
Second.
And second by Mr. Armstrong. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your service, Mr. Creed. Look forward to continuing working with you with the North Delta. Okay, I think we're on the ball. We took care of that, didn't we, Ms. Goldman? That was the roof on this building and the driveway at Central Fire Station. We got it in early. Thank you. Item number 13, discussion, action, authorization to initiate a lawsuit against parties that have failed to pay occupational license, taxes, or fees. Ms. Goldman.
Mayor, we have some businesses that we've tried to get them in to get occupational license. We probably mailed out 6 or 7 different times, most of them with being registered letters. We've also sent out code enforcement at least 3 different times, trying to get them in, and the last piece of communication we have, Attorney Lawrence sent them a letter asking them to contact us before the meeting of today and let us rectify this. We have not been able to get them to call us or come in. So we just want to make y'all aware of it and see what you want us to do.
Ms. Goldman, how long a time span has this been going on?
We mail out occupational license the end of November. They're not delinquent until February the 28th. So after February, we mail out letters again, letting them know that they are delinquent. And then we call them on the phone, and then we try to get them in, by mail or delivery. So we've communicated the whole time since February the 28th. And it's almost time for us to mail out for 2013. And they won't be able to get their 2013 until they get their 2012.
Mr. Lawrence, any thoughts you have on this?
I think you've done everything you can do, short of filing suit, because as Ms. Goldman indicated, the initial notices went out 11 months ago. I looked over a lot of the paperwork. I saw where code enforcement in the city has attempted on paper to communicate with folks and give them a chance. And, you're now down to really your last resort. And you have to think about it like this. You have all of your other businesses in the city that are paying their occupational licensing fees. And so they'll look at this and say, well, why should we pay if everybody else doesn't have to pay? And so I think you're at the final step, and the reason why this is here today is, do you want us to initiate a lawsuit to collect the fees and to even perhaps seek an injunction that says you cannot do business in the city unless and until you pay these sums? And I think the minimum fee is what, $75 a year? $50 a year. So it's not an astronomical sum of money, and yet these fees have not been paid. So by voting on this tonight, you will be authorizing a lawsuit.
Council members, any thoughts?
Yeah, I got some thoughts. If we're going to sue them over $75, what makes us think they're still going to pay it if they ain't paid 11 months? You're saying we're at our final step. Well, where's the step of shutting them down without an occupational license? Where's that step at?
In the injunction.
Okay, well, I think that's what we need to be voting on. We don't need to sue anybody. We need to shut them down if they don't have a license.
Right.
That's my thought on it.
Mine's also.
And let me say this. The fee is already due for last year. And I guess in conjunction with that, they've been operating since then, and they shouldn't have been operating. So I guess the suit will cover both things if you want it. If you strictly want it to deal with injunctive relief, it can deal strictly with that. You let us know what you want it to cover, and that's the angle that we will take.
Mr. Long, I think we're all in agreement. Mr. Nason,
All
they
right.
have had ample time to take care of it.
Another train of thought real quick. We have no time limit on how long somebody has to pay an occupational license. We just keep warning them and keep asking them, keep sending them letters, and they keep operating and never pay it. I mean, what is our law against this? We don't have a set term.
Well, not exactly. And through all the years that I've been here, I only remember taking one to court since Doug's been here, and we've just always been able to get them come in. And I have not, and I've really tried to work with them, but I've done all I could do. So I'm just having to. I'm at the point. You just need to let us know what you need us to do.
And I think to answer your question, the real time limit is February. In other words, the notices go out in November. The money is supposed to be received by what was that?
February 28th is the deadline.
Right.
We start charging penalties and interest Now, we're not, some of these businesses, it's based upon your gross receipts of the year before.
Right.
The first threshold to these type of businesses that fits in this category is gonna be $50 for $100,000 a year. So, you know.
So
some
these
of them may not
businesses
be 50.
have been incurring penalties since February?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well then,
Penalties and interest.
gotcha. Okay, well, I guess the next question is, can we look at something where down the road, where February, you've got from November to February, and if it isn't done by then, I mean, I just don't see the benefit of a lawsuit here in October for something that should have been paid
Right.
in February. And why are they being allowed to operate when everybody else has paid it?
Right. And that's understood. I think the utility of a lawsuit now is it does not allow them to continue over into the next year or beyond where we are now.
Right.
I think
Until they pay all of their fees from this past year, and then their other ones are due in November.
Right.
We mail them out. They're actually due by February.
Right. Okay.
So now y'all clarify for me, because the penalties and the interest, I guess, it's kind of hard to sue for that and not sue for the back due occupational licensing fee and seek the injunction. I mean, y'all were clear, you want the injunction that says you
And
can't.
then, right, we want the injunction, and we want it to be upheld until all fees and penalties are paid.
All right.
And then they won't be able to operate until that is paid.
My recommendation is that we make the suit, make the headline of the suit focus on the injunction. But we also include in there so that the court will be clear about what the amount is that's owed, because a lot of times the penalties and definitely the interest is going to be based on what's owed and hadn't been paid. So if we can do that, that'll cover all the bases and everything that you have a concern about.
That's fine.
Let me raise this question, Mr. Lawrence and Sandra. This is one that you can answer. In addition to the fees, the gross sales, the receipt, is it greater than that $75, some added revenue that they should have been paying taxes on?
It's based upon your gross sales of the previous year, so
Okay.
it's based on their gross sales of what they did for the year of 2011.
Okay, so they would owe that
Right.
and the fee, the
And
license fee.
penalties and interest.
Okay.
And the state law on occupational license governs how much we can charge penalties and interest. It's like, penalty, I think, is 5 cents per month, and the interest is 1 per month, and additional to that. So it just depends on where their gross is, and they give us a table that we have to go by. So it could really add up.
Okay.
And I think the base fee, you know, if you were just, for any business, isn't it 1/10 of 1% of your gross?
No,
Or is
that's a
it
different category.
Different one.
This-
Okay, these are the service type
That's right.
business.
This
Okay.
here are retail sales and retail service. The table runs really, really close. There is some different, but the minimum is $50. But every business that comes in here that falls in those categories, pretty much most of them is gonna, however, we do have some that does not fit in there. It's above more than that.
Okay. Okay, I thought that was something the council members would be interested in knowing. In addition to that, Mr. Lawrence, the ones that are outstanding for now, given this council decides that they want to go forward with the recommendation Mr. Nason has made, the ones that are outstanding as of now, would the city not offer them a renewal, or would the city pursue filing the suit against them? How would that be handled? The ones that are in question as of this date?
Should be a
It
renewal.
seems as though, I'm trying to think, it seems as though, have we denied in the past? That may be a very good leverage point.
Right, I think we can do it. We have done it when they've had some problems as
Right, I
far
mean,
as.
you know, you haven't paid us, why should we give you another license?
Right.
you
And
know?
we won't issue them because they've got to pay us before we issue it. We, you know, We have to have the money.
Okay.
And we don't take installments. You gotta pay all of it and then get
What
your
about the
license.
tax commission? Have they, I'm sure they hadn't even paid taxes and sales tax.
I'm not sure. I haven't been aware of that. They're separate and apart.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard for us to link our licensing to an obligation that may be owed to somebody else, because that's something that has been discussed in the past. What if you owe, I'll just make this up, what if you owe the IRS taxes and you come to us for an occupational license? Can we say no? No, we can't say no if you're current with us, because the IRS is not our no jurisdiction.
We're just dealing with our end of it.
But do we also get a percentage of sales tax that this businesses, if they operate from the parish?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So basically, they should be paying sales tax also to the
And they may be, but it goes to the Morehouse sales tax. They collect it and write us a check.
Write them a check back.
Right.
And if anybody's behind on that, they have their own collection mechanism they use for that purpose.
Okay, having had this discussion, are you ready to make a motion? Or are we clear on all of the details associated with this? I believe in the past, the city really doesn't want to have to go down that route, and we have tried to be courteous and lenient and to work with citizens. So, but we've come to a crossroad where we're just going to have to do business differently. So this is why we're bringing this to you as council members. But given all the information that has been provided, what is your pleasure on this situation?
We make a motion of the items that we've talked about with the differences, including the injunction.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and second. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 14, discussion action authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Bastrop to file legal suit against the owner of 101 East Madison for historic district violation. Mr. Lawrence.
Mayor, there was a meeting of the Historic District Commission, I want to say within the past 2 weeks, that I was present for. And there was a discussion regarding this particular property, which is on Courthouse Square. And the discussion dealt with problems that fall into two categories. The first dealt with the general upkeep of the property, and I guess, to be more accurate about it, the lack thereof. And the Historic District has some rather stringent and necessary requirements for the upkeep of those properties that are located within the district. And then the second issue that came to light is that apparently the property owner has been using this property as a rental property, permitting use as a residence, an apartment or something where folks have been living there. That not only is a violation of the Historic District Commission ordinance, it's also a violation of a covenant that's included in a deed where the city sold this property to the initial owner, and I think there's been one other sale, and of course those covenants follow the sale of the property. So the non-conforming use of this property as a residence, and also the failure to keep and maintain this property in accordance with the Historic District Commission, prompted that group to adopt a resolution requesting that the city initiate legal action for non-compliance with the Historic District the Historic District ordinance, as well as the restrictive covenant in the deed. So on tonight, this matter is here for your consideration of a lawsuit against that owner, that property owner, for the enforcement of the Historic District ordinances and of the restrictive deed and the restrictive covenant in the deed.
Two-part question, Mr. Lawrence. How long has have he failed to fix the building, and how many people have contacted him, if any?
It has gone through a series of procedures. In fact, I was in attendance with Mr. Lawrence in that meeting, but the historic district and the zoning officer have all made communication, and they have basically exhausted all of their efforts to bring this property into compliance for use in the historic district.
We see, looks like there's a history on and off dating back to 2008 of ongoing communications between representatives of the Historic District Commission and the property owner. The matter about the person living in the property, I know as recently as 2 weeks ago, I think, during that meeting, Mary, I know you were there, it seems as though someone was there right then. And I don't recall what the history was about how long someone had been living there. But I just know that as of a couple of weeks ago, it was still the case, and it was actually discussed where there were some, I guess, ongoing surveillance of someone apparently living there over an extended period of time, during this past year at least.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Lawrence?
Just one quick one, Mayor. What are we, the gist of this lawsuit, we're trying to accomplish what?
Two things: to enjoin this property from being used as a residential structure.
Right.
And then secondly, for it to be brought up to code standards in terms of problems with the facade, the exterior, where it's simply not being kept up to code standards.
Okay.
Mr. Lawrence, but have anybody talked to him personally, made efforts, or have he, presented his side? What's his reason?
I see here a letter. Is this the current owner?
Yes.
This dates back to December the 10th, 2008, where the owner first of all is acknowledging the problem, and then secondly proposing to remedy the problem in 3 phases. And based upon the reports we're getting from code enforcement and from the Historic District Commission, hadn't been remedied. And also on the matter of the person living there, among the reports that I've received have been, going up to the structure, I guess knocking on the door, doing whatever you would do, knowing that somebody is in there, and they just won't answer. And also a lack of acknowledgement of notices being sent. I saw where Mr. Lee had sent correspondence to the owners and have made efforts to contact the occupant, and yet those efforts just don't seem to be successful.
Are there any other questions?
I have one. Basically, I have noticed that we do have some occupants living within the historic district that lives upstairs.
Yes.
Now, would that be in a conflict with him, or he can say, well, you all allow these people to live here, then you won't allow me? So isn't that the case for a lawsuit?
I think that there are 2 distinctions. The first one, I think the ordinance actually reads that you can't have first floor occupancy. In other words, if you happen to have a structure that has a second floor, that second floor can be used for residential purposes, but not the first. And then the other thing about this property that is unique from all others is that the city actually sold this property to the owner before the current owner. And it's actually written into the deed, this cannot be used for residential purposes.
Okay.
So those are the 2 things that sort of distinguish it.
Does a resident live here? Does he live out of town?
Did the owner? No,
Owner.
sir. He does not live here.
Not live here.
Are there any other questions?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I went by today and I looked at the property myself, and it's not complete outside. You got, look, it seems though he's going stucco, but it's not. And you see wire, and I told Steve Jewelry, and he told me it had been like that for several years. So.
Thank you for all of your comments. The Historic Board, here again, a group of people that serve at will, give of their time, and they are holding up the banner for a standard within the historic district. And we have to make sure that everybody has, as Mr. Lawrence always says, equal protection under the law, and those who are keeping up their property, we applaud them, but those who are not, that's not fair to those who are. And then we think about boards that serve at will. They really have reached the end of their rope, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And they need to know that what they are doing is supported by the council. Would you agree, Mr. Lawrence, that that's pretty much where we are?
Yes, you're kind of at a point where you have to ask the question, why do you have a historic district code if you don't require compliance? Sort of, why do you have a code? And then if there's some part about it that you don't like, probably the better thing to do is to revisit that part instead of having it and not enforcing it. So I do agree.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
May I make that motion?
Okay, would you clarify, you make a motion authorizing?
Authorizing the city to take
legal
action against the owner of this property.
Okay. Was that sufficient, Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, Resolution 12-1470, a resolution authorizing the City of Bastrop through its mayor to make application to the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, for a Brownsfield grant to assess properties inside the city limits of Bastrop, Louisiana for possible remediation and redevelopment. Anybody here from PAC? Mr. McKee, you want to speak to? Nobody's here from PAC? Okay. We've been working with Dean Blackett and his company, and also with Dr. Sutherland from the University of Louisiana at Monroe, and Mr. John Nolan about some development particularly on the west side of town. But we want to look at the Brownfield grant, which determines the EPA regulations, the BESTO, and all those other kind of things that you have to take under consideration when you're in a redevelopment mode. And I am very much interested in this grant. Willie has met with them along with me, and also Mark Vereen I've tasked him to work with the PAC agency as well. So I think this is an opportunity that would be good for the city. So I will entertain a motion on Resolution 12-1470.
So moved.
Properly moved by Mr. Nason.
Second.
Second by Mr. Armstrong. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. K. King, item number 16, Morehouse Economic Development Corporation. As Ms. King comes to the microphone, Ms. King and I were at a retreat earlier this week, and we had some dialogue with key people, and we are all on the same page, I believe, in moving the city forward. And it doesn't really matter who gets the glory or who gets the credit. It all comes out in the wash, I think, in the end. Who's supposed to get what recognition. But I felt very good about that retreat and the dialogue that we have. Ms. King, it's good to see you again.
Well, thank you. I was in Colorado last month, so I can't say that I didn't miss you. I was looking at the mountains. But But it's glad to be back, and I've been really busy since I've been back. I mean, almost unbelievably busy. I know sometimes people don't really see the things that we do, but I think that we are moving forward. We're following our redevelopment plan. I've been following that plan. I get it out and I reread it every once in a while to make sure that I'm staying on task. And so I want to bring up that we are having our annual meeting next month. I hope all of you received an invitation on it, and we're going to have a very good meal. I'm optimistic that we're going to have a very good meal because we're having it at lunch, so I don't have to worry about the breakfast crew showing up. And you're absolutely very brave, Mayor Olive, to do the breakfast thing. But we are having a luncheon. We're going to have a good meal. One of the parts of the program that I hope that we'll look at